Yo, what is going on, guys? Wanted to go ahead and break down the run game out of the Singleback Bunch X Nasty for you and explain just how good and overpowered this is going up against the new meta, which is dollar. And I say new meta very loosely because it's just changed a little bit. A lot of people have switched from pinching the D line, getting the A gap to come in free, into mixing that up with a spread D line and the free safety coming down into the gap, right? They come down into the B gap. I broke it down, I believe, 2 videos ago, where you're basically just trying to either get the A gap to come in or the linebacker to come through the B gap, or excuse me, the safety to come through the B gap. And if you aren't familiar with how you want to run on those, they can be a little bit tricky because the same runs don't work for both setups. So if you want to spam, like me, I love spamming the wide zone weak. That is really good against a pinch D line, but if they're not going to pinch their defensive line, no matter what you're doing, then you're going to have a alternate run to go to. And the combination of wide zone weak and the inside zone split is extremely, extremely overpowered against any 3 defensive lineman set. That's going to be good against nickel 3-3. It's going to be good against dollar. It's going to be good against 3-4. It's going to be good against all of those metas, right? So basically anything besides dime, 4-3 even, 6-1, and nickel over / big nickel over G, you're going to be able to run literally almost every single play. Like if you watch me play competitively, you'll see that my offense is basically just built around running the ball and throwing bombs. That's really what my scheme comes out to. Now I have, normal dots, to mix in there, but I look to run the ball and I look to control the clock and I look to throw bombs when I need to. Simple as that. So for this video, we're going to be going ahead and talking about the runs and really what you need to do. So the first run we're going to take a look at is going to be the inside zone split, because this is going to be the run that's going to set up the wide zone. So a lot of people you'll see will come out and they'll run a blitz like free safety zone blitz, where the D line is spread. You see that the free safety's coming into the gap. You've got that middle linebacker on the left in the gap as well. Now for this run, all you need to do is simply double team the defensive tackle. And when you do that, what you'll see happen here is that a hole just pretty much opens up like the Red Sea, right? You're basically Moses at that point, because you're going to be able to run right at the middle. And it's not going to matter what they do with their user. Like, their user has to be on the right-hand side of the offensive line in order to make this blitz work. Some people will try to stand over top of the defensive tackle and try to loop in that way. Neither of those really works. Actually, the best, gap shoot for this run is to stand outside of the defensive end on the right-hand side. But even then, you're going to be hit or miss. You're either going to shoot the run in the backfield or you're going to give up just a massive gain. And this run, like I said, extremely simple, extremely easy to do. And, you're one juke move away from taking this to a crib shot. And I'll show some game clips of this as well. So that run, in combination with the wide zone weak, is really what separates this run scheme. And you see wide zone weak, I've called 510 times. And you can compare this to like all of my passing setups, right? Like PA cross is the next at 493. Yeah, I mean, everything else is pretty minimal, right? PA X out cross 170, PA drag wheel 139, verticals 298. Like you can see, like how many times I call this run play is honestly pretty silly. But once they pinch their defensive line, which I'm not going to be able to really show you here, but I'll show you a clip of me using this in game against Penguin, who is a comp player. Does pretty well. He's a solid player. Runs the meta on both sides of the ball. Good player. Not a whole lot there. If you guys watched the Crew v Crew, we ended up playing him and his crew a couple times, I think. Or no, we ended up playing them once, but we ended up winning that series, I believe. Anyways, here nor there. Basically, they're going to do the same thing, except they'll pinch their defensive line. When they do that, you want to flick this run to the bunch side. So you see how I've got the run flicked to the right. And then you want to double team the defensive end. It's as simple as that. When they pinch the defensive line, you'll double team that end. And what that'll do is it'll actually take your linemen, and it'll shoot them to the second level, normally grabbing the user, and then it's just up to you to go ahead and, you know, decide whether you're cutting it up the middle or you're going to break it to the outside. Simple as that. Not a whole lot more to it. Once you figure out your double teams, that's really all you need to do. Now, you may ask yourself why I am double teaming. And the reason for the double team is the double team will counteract a no outsider. So if they have a player that has no outsiders, it'll counteract that. And then it also changes your second level people, right? So if I double team a defensive end, it'll send the it'll essentially create an edge similar to like an off tackle, to where the tight end / tackle will go get the linebacker, and it just keeps everything open for that off tackle style of a run. So that's really it, guys. Not going to break this down any longer than it needs to be. I'm going to show you a couple game clips, and once you figure out and get used to the double teaming, and once you get used to, you know, figuring out some of the pass setups to mix it in, this offense it's a whole new level, man. You literally force people into 4-3, even 6-1. Like, no other defense is going to give this any sort of problems. And even 4-3-6-1 is not going to give it problems once you get the passing setups down. So, once again, you guys want to check those out. There's a full ebook on this on the website, maddendaily.com. Hop in the Discord if you want. It's in basically just the description of every single video that I do. All right, so now let's go ahead and dive into some game clips, and you can see me using this in combination together. You can see how the overall scheme comes into play. So here you see this is my opponent. He's in a spread defensive line dollar. You're just going to double team that defensive tackle. Doesn't matter if they're glowing or not. Basically, you're going to be able to run up the middle. There you saw I only picked up 3 yards, right? I had a juke. It didn't actually dumb out the defender. I have no idea where his user actually is, honestly. All right, here you go. He users that linebacker. You can see we're able to go ahead, pick up a nice little gain of 13 yards or so there, right? So we end up scoring on that drive. We're going to go back to it. Once again, he's in dollar. He's trying to move his linebacker back to go ahead and, you know, try to shoot a gap. You see we pick up another 10-plus yards right there. And here, let's go ahead. I'm trying to remember what I do here. I think I might run again. So we'll go ahead. Oh, actually, I do believe what's going to happen here is he's going to pinch his defensive line, I believe, and then I'm going to try to run the wide zone. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, you see how he pinches his defensive line? I go ahead trying to run wide zone. This is something that I purposely left in here because I wanted to explain, like, although I take a delay game here on accident, I go to the wide zone because as soon as he pinched his defensive line, I know I can pick up massive chunks of yards there. So here, he goes ahead, brings the safeties down into the box. This is pretty meta at this point. Leaves his defensive line spread, and we go ahead, run the inside zone again, pick up an easy score, right? So now here's a game clip of against Penguins. Once again, comp player, really good player, and he's running a defensive line pinched down. You see right off the bat, we go to the wide zone. We're going to go ahead. Here, I'm actually going to hit him with a bomb because once you set up the run and you run enough, people are going to really respect it, right? So you see his user is basically at the line of scrimmage. It allows us to go ahead, throw over the top. Their users are not going to be in play for the bombs. And that's kind of like how this whole thing sets up. That's why I mentioned you're running to set up your bombs. And then here you see pinches defensive line again. We call wide zone, double team the end, flip it to the bunch side, and then you see, boom, everybody gets picked up easy, and we're essentially have an easy walk-in score, right? So another example, we're going back to a different game that I played today, and you'll see we've ran the ball. I got stopped in the red zone, but just the simple threat of the run keeps your opponent user down into the box, right? So like once you start running, I showed you one bomb where we're bombing to the left. This time, I know my opponent's in either a 2-man under or a cover 4. That is just man aligned from this point. It's going to end up being a 2-man under, and then you can see very easily for us to go ahead and bomb deep to the right-hand side as well. So as I mentioned, this is essentially an offense that revolves very heavily around the run and also bombing, set up the run to set up the pass.